3 bone-chilling true horror stories that haunt every end of summer, must read now. The summer was dying, and with its passing came whispers of horrors so chilling, they silenced even the sound of cicadas. In small towns across America, stories emerged, stories that clawed at the edge of reason, drawing in every curious soul bold enough to listen. They spoke of shadows with no owners, voices carried on the wind, and a twisted connecting thread that tied fear to the end of summer. In the tiny town of Waverly, under a full silver moon, sat a house where laughter once reigned. Now, the air was heavy with suspense. No one dared set foot inside. It was said the last family that lived there vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a dog that howled at the walls, a haunting sound echoing through the empty streets. Kids dared each other to approach the porch, their hearts pounding. Who could resist the lure of the unknown? The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones, their faces pale, as they recalled the rumors, ghostly figures appearing in windows, the echo of children's laughter mingled with the howl of the dog, a lost spirit calling out for help. Just a few miles up the road, an old man named Harold was found lifeless on his porch, eyes wide open, mouth twisted in a silent scream. It was reported that he had been working on a project in his attic the days leading up to his death. No one knew what he had seen up there, but it was enough to scare him to death. As whispers swirled, people claimed they could hear strange noises from the house, clattering that seemed to come from nowhere, like someone was moving furniture in the dark, or something worse. And then there was the tale that had locals trembling in their boots, a story of a woman who never left her bed, claiming she was too afraid of the dark. She wrapped herself in layers of blankets, convinced that if she could just keep the darkness at bay, she'd be safe. Somehow, one fateful night, she did venture out, only to be seen wandering aimlessly in the woods, her eyes glazed over, as if entranced by something sinister lurking among the trees. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As rumors spread faster than fire, the townspeople grew restless. Those warm summer nights turned into sleepless ones, filled with sounds that startled the bravest of hearts. What had stirred from the shadows of summer's end? Was it the ghost of the dog? The spirit of Harold's unfinished business? Or the haunted dreams of the woman who wandered too far? With each passing day, tensions rose. People began locking their doors, standing together in anxious huddles, and gazing warily into the darkness. And just as fear reached its peak, a flicker caught their attention, a light in the attic of Harold's house, where none had stepped since he died. What could possibly be up there? Who, or what, was daring to uncover the secrets of that haunting summer? The light flickered again, a cruel tease in the oppressive darkness that blanketed Waverly. All eyes turned towards Harold's house, where shadows danced and whispered secrets, an invitation to the unknowable. Tommy, a boy of barely 16, couldn't resist the pull of curiosity. He stood at the edge of the yard, the grass damp beneath his sneakers. Heart racing, he glanced back at his friends. They were pale, eyes wide with a mix of terror and excitement. "You don't have to go in," whispered Lisa, a girl from school, her voice shaky. "It's not safe." But Tommy felt the thrill coursing through him. He had to know what was up there. With a shuddering breath, he nodded and took a step forward. "I'll call if I need help," he promised, trying to sound brave. As he creaked open the wrought iron gate, its eerie squeal pierced the stillness. The porch groaned under his weight, every sound was amplified, as if the house itself were waking. He reached for the door handle, hesitating momentarily. Was this madness? Just as he turned the knob, a low growl rumbled from behind him, the familiar bark of the dog left behind by the vanished family. Its mournful cry echoed through the empty streets, sending chills racing down Tommy's spine. He glanced back at the other kids, who stood frozen, their faces streaked with moonlight, eyes flashing with uncertainty. When he stepped inside, the stale air rushed to greet him, thick with the dust of abandonment. The darkness enveloped him as he moved cautiously through the hallway, the boards protest under his weight. The flicker of the light flickered in the attic, brighter now. It felt like a heartbeat, thumping in time with his own pulse. Up the rickety stairs, each step felt like a dare. A strange humming buzzed around him, the sound of something just out of reach. As Tommy reached the attic door, he hesitated. He could hear something, a soft, sorrowful melody. It was haunting and beautiful, enough to wrap around his heart like a vice. What kind of music could come from a place like this? He pushed the door open. Dust motes hung in the air, illuminated by the soft glow above. In that moment, time felt heavy, suspended between past and present. Tommy's breath hitched as he took in the scene before him. At the center stood an old phonograph, its horns stretching high into the dimness, belting out the silent song that called to him. He stepped closer, heart pounding. On the wall hung photographs of the family that once lived here, their happy faces mirroring a past gone by. And yet, the room felt alive, vibrating with energy that both delighted and terrified him. As he reached to touch the dusty record, he noticed something glimmering out of the corner of his eye, an old diary half hidden beneath a pile of tattered newspapers. When he pulled it free, a frigid gust of wind swept through the attic, slamming the door shut behind him. Panic surged, a raw instinct for survival. He whirled around, palms sweating as something snapped in the shadows. It wasn't just the wind. There were whispers, too quiet at first but quickly swelling into a cacophony of voices, as if the very walls were trying to scream their warning. What did Harold see up here? What was so terrifying it forced him to leave everything behind, even his own life? Tommy's skin prickled with dread. He had to find out. But then, the attic light flickered once more, and a shadow brushed against the wall behind him, its shape shifting just out of sight. As the voices screamed and the darkness pressed in, he knew he had a choice: uncover the secrets of the attic or flee before they consumed him whole. What would he decide? And would it lead him closer to the truth or seal his fate forever? Tommy's heart raced as the whispers grew louder, curling around him like tendrils of smoke. The attic felt more alive than ever, as if it held its breath, waiting for him to make a move. The shadow behind him flickered again, darker now, with a weight that pressed down on his chest. Just leave, he murmured to himself, feeling the words tremble on his lips. But there was something magnetic about the diary in his hands, as if it held not just secrets, but answers. He fumbled with the cover, wiping the dust away, his fingers itching to pry open its worn pages, but another crash echoed from the far side of the attic, making him jump. The phonograph screeched to life, the needle scratching against the record, its eerie melody twisting into something more sinister. Panic surged through him, but with it came a strange determination. "I'm not afraid," he lied, though every ounce of his being begged to flee. He flipped open the diary, pages yellowed and fragile, the ink fading but still clinging to life. The first entry caught his eye: "I can hear them. They come at night, their cries echo through the walls. No matter how hard I try to drown them out, they seep through the very floors of this house." Tommy's breath hitched as he processed the words. Who were they? What had happened to Harold? He forced himself to read on, each word weighing heavier than the last. Each entry painted a picture of dread, of dark figures creeping in the night, whispers of loss and despair. Then came the final entry, scrawled frantically in the margins: "They're coming for me. I can't escape. The children are part of it. Something sinister is awakening." At that moment, the attic seemed to hum in agreement, as if the house itself had been waiting for Tommy to read those words. He glanced toward the window, where the last vestiges of moonlight flickered, casting eerie shapes on the floor. Outside, the dog howled again, a sorrowful sound that reverberated against the walls. "Tommy." It was Lisa's voice, distant but urgent. Come back. Please. In that instant, he felt a wave of guilt wash over him. His friends were outside, probably terrified and wondering what he was doing. But the diary gripped him tighter. Was this the reason Harold had vanished? Was he destined to meet the same fate? The shadow behind him shifted again, closer now, its form more defined, as if it were manifesting from the darkness itself. Tommy's instincts screamed for him to run, but curiosity and fear battled within him. If he turned away now, he might never know the truth about what lurked in the depths of the house, or worse, what had happened to the family who once lived there. Just as the tension reached its peak, a loud crash jolted him from his thoughts. The attic light flickered wildly, and all at once, the whispers turned into tortured screams that echoed through the room. Tommy's heart thudded painfully in his chest. The floorboards creaked ominously beneath his feet, and he instinctively took a step back. The shadow lunged forward, a dark mass spilling out of the wall. His breath caught, and it was in that moment of pure terror he knew he had to decide quickly: would he confront the darkness or attempt to escape into the light? As he darted towards the attic door, the whispering grew fiercer, clawing at his ears like icy fingers. Fear surged, and he stumbled, chest tight with dread. With one last glance behind him, Tommy knew too well that whatever lay in that shadow would not be easily escaped. What awaited him on the other side of the door? Would he find redemption or a fate far worse than he could comprehend? Tommy flung himself toward the door, the hinges screeching in protest as he yanked it open. The swirling darkness behind him threatened to swallow him whole. He stumbled out of the attic, landing awkwardly on the cold wooden floor below. The wild echoes from the attic flooded his ears, mingling with the remnants of that dreadful melody from the phonograph. Tommy. Lisa's voice shot through the haze of panic, her face a mask of concern as she bolted towards him. What happened? You looked, shoo, he hissed, his voice barely above a whisper. He could still feel the shadow's breath on his neck, a lingering chill that wrapped around him like a shroud. We need to get out of here. Now. The fear in Tommy's eyes pierced through Lisa's confusion. She glanced nervously at the attic door, where a thin wisp of shadow snaked its way out, curling into the air like a petulant ghost. Did you find something? What was up there? Something twisted in Tommy's gut. Truth hung heavy on his tongue, but how could he explain the darkness? I think, Harold, something's wrong with this house. We've got to warn the others. He grabbed her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin against the cold weight of his dread. Together, they hurried down the creaking hallway toward the staircase. Every step felt like a race against time, the shadows gathering momentum behind them, whispering dire secrets that grew louder with every heartbeat. As they neared the stairs, a heavy thud resonated through the house, shaking loose dust from the rafters above. Tommy's heart stopped. From one end of the dark corridor emerged a flickering silhouette. It was small and distorted, an obscured figure that resembled a child, its face hidden in darkness. What is that? Lisa asked, gripping Tommy's arm tightly. The young girl stood there, unmoving, her presence a cold splash of terror. Stay back! Tommy shouted, his voice trembling as he felt reality warping around him, tightening like a noose. The child didn't respond, but slowly lifted an arm, pointing straight down the hallway. Tommy swallowed, heart racing. The shadow behind the child seemed to twist and writhe, pulsating with a life of its own. Keep moving, he urged, pushing Lisa gently backward towards the stairs. Tommy, wait. She pulled him to a halt. What if it's trying to help? But Tommy shook his head, backing away. It's not. We have to go. The fear clawed at his insides, battering against the rational part of his mind. How many times had he heard stories about children luring people into darkness? The child's mouth opened, a wail filling the air that resonated with grief and horror. It pierced through Tommy's heart, striking deep into his soul. Memories flickered in his mind, faces of lost friends, nightmarish glimmers of things he didn't understand. He felt like he was being pulled into a vortex of despair, the whispers crescendoed, swirling around him like a tempest. "Come play with us." "No." Tommy's voice broke the spell like glass shattering underfoot. They bolted down the stairs, Lisa barely keeping pace as they rushed into the bright sunlight of the backyard. The yard felt surreal, a world away from the shadows that had closed in on them just moments ago, but relief was short-lived. The dog still howled in the distance, a mournful sound that tore at the calm. "Did you see that?" Tommy gasped, glancing back toward the house, breathless. "What was that?" "I don't know, but we can't just leave. We need to figure out what is going on," Lisa insisted, but there was a tremor in her voice. Tommy felt the weight of dread settle over them both. "What if it comes after us again?" Before Lisa could answer, a sudden hush fell over the yard, a complete absence of sound that was more terrifying than any scream. As they stood rooted, uncertainty gripping them tighter than fear ever could, the doorway of the house remained eerily still. And then, through the distance, came that child's voice, soft yet chilling, "You'll play with us soon." What did that mean? What was waiting for them inside? Tommy's mind raced. They had to make a choice. Would they confront the darkness that seemed to beckon, or would they unravel a truth that might shatter their world forever? The ominous stillness loomed heavy in the air, daring them to take the next step. Tommy's heart raced, each beat sounding like an alarm in his ears. The calmness of the yard now felt like a cruel joke, as if the shadows inside were waiting, hungry for their return. The air thickened around them, stinging their lungs. He felt the prickling sensation of eyes watching them, unseen yet penetrating. "What now?" Lisa's voice broke as she surveyed the house, her eyes wide with fear. "Should we go back inside? Maybe we can help." Whatever that was. "No." Tommy's response came out harsher than intended. The last thing he wanted was to walk back into that darkness. It could be a trap. "We have to call for help. Maybe Ben and Julie are still in the house." "Ben and Julie?" Lisa's brow furrowed. What if they're already? He couldn't even finish that thought. The idea of what awaited them beyond those walls was too horrifying. But the thought of leaving their friends behind felt even worse. He could hear the distant howls of the dog, a warning cry that only served to deepen the pit of dread in his stomach. Taking a deep breath, Tommy stepped away from the shadows of the house, pulling Lisa with him. "We'll go get help. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have to go to the neighbor's house." Lisa nodded, her face pale but resolute. As they turned to run, a flicker of movement caught Tommy's eye. He glanced back, heart pounding there, between the spaces of the porch and the doorway. The silhouette of that child stood watching them, her head tilted, a grotesque mockery of innocence. "Tommy!" Lisa shouted, pulling him back. "It's coming out." "No, we can't. Keep moving." He yanked her forward, pushing them both away from the house, the cold sweat on his brow stinging in the sunlight. They sprinted across the backyard, every rustle of grass, every snap of a twig driving the panic deeper into their bones. "Faster! Don't look back!" Tommy urged, his breath coming in sharp gasps. As they neared the fence, a heavy thump echoed from inside the house, a door slamming shut, as if something had been unleashed. He didn't want to imagine what that could be. They hit the wooden slats of the fence hard, scrambling over it as if it were their salvation. Once on the other side, the world opened up to them. The sun was brighter, the sky bluer. But that was just a facade. They ran down the narrow path between the houses, faster now, adrenaline coursing through them. "Do you think they're okay? Ben and Julie?" Lisa shouted, the edge of panic in her voice, and behind it lay a glimmer of hope. "I don't know." Tommy shouted back, fighting against the sinking feeling that gnawed at his gut. "We have to get there." They skidded to a halt at the neighbor's door. Tommy's fist hammered against the wood, every knock a desperate call for help, but silence greeted him. "Tommy, let us go around back," Lisa pointed out, her eyes wild. Maybe they're outside. They raced around the house, but the backyard was empty, not a soul in sight. The kids had spent countless summers playing together here, and now it felt abandoned, haunted by an unseen terror. Why is no one home? The quiver in Lisa's voice cut through his thoughts. Fear started intertwining with despair. What if the shadows are taking over the whole street? Suddenly, the air shifted again. The stillness was interrupted by distant laughter, a haunting melody that seemed to drift from nowhere, wrapping around them like a creeping fog. It was the same eerie echo that had rolled out of the attic a short while ago. What's happening? Tommy's voice trembled. Lisa backed up against the fence, her wide eyes searching for reassurance. I think it's them. She turned her gaze toward the woods that bordered their neighborhood, a shadowy labyrinth of twisted trees and ominous whispers. In the depths of that darkness, a chill swept through the air, and for a second, he thought he saw figures moving between the trees. Children, their faces obscured by shadow, beckoning. Tommy, we need to go back. We have to get them. Panic surged in Lisa's voice, but Tommy felt the pull of fear. Before he could respond, another sharp scream tore through the air, not human, but like a thing still searching for life. A bone-chilling sound that froze them in place. A warning? A call? What if they're... He whispered, dread coursing through his veins. And then, from the depths of the woods, the laughter crescendoed into a ghastly, high-pitched wail. Tommy's grip on Lisa tightened. We don't have a choice. We have to find them. But what would they find there? And at what cost? The shadows trembled around them, and with each passing moment, the whispers grew louder, the laughter of those lost children echoing like a cruel reminder of a game they were not meant to play. Tommy. Lisa's voice nearly broke. What if we can't come back? In that moment, the tangled threads of their fate hung in the balance, a web spun by forces they barely understood, as the darkness yawned wide before them, waiting for their next move. And from deep within the shadows, came that haunting call again, you'll play with us soon. How much longer could they resist before the shadows sought them out? Tommy felt as if the world around him had narrowed, the trees looming like dark sentinels, waiting to ensnare them in their twisting branches. A chill crawled down his spine as the distant laughter morphed into something more sinister, echoing through the night like 1,000 voices of the lost. Let us move. He urged, but his own legs felt like lead, each step heavy with dread. Lisa was right beside him, her breath shallow and quick, her fear palpable. He could see it in her eyes, an unspoken acknowledgement of the danger they faced. As they stepped deeper into the woods, shadows danced around them, flickering out of time with their frantic heartbeats. The laughter faded, replaced by a rustling that seemed to come from all directions. It was unnerving, like the trees were whispering secrets meant only for them, and with every word, the feelings of dread grew. Tommy, are we even heading the right way? Lisa's voice quivered, but Tommy couldn't answer. The path was hazy in the dim light, the trees wrapping around them like a maze. A strand of panic lodged itself in his throat. Then came the whisper, a soft voice filtering through the branches, sweet and inviting. Come play. Did you hear that? Lisa froze, staring into the darkness, her eyes wide in terror. Stay close. Tommy barked, his heart hammering louder than ever. They pressed on, desperate to uncover what lay ahead. The once familiar sounds of their neighborhood were gone. Instead, it felt as if the woods were alive, thrumming with unfathomable energy. In the thickening darkness, a flash of white caught Tommy's eye. A blurry figure moved just beyond his line of sight, swaying lightly, as if suspended between worlds. Ben? Julie? He called out, dread pooling in his stomach. No answer. Only a rustling that seemed to mock him, an echo from somewhere deeper in the forest. Maybe we should, Lisa stammered, but her voice failed her as Tommy surged forward, drawn in by an overwhelming need to find their friends. But the deeper they went, the more disorienting the woods became. The laughter returned, gleeful yet cruel, wrapping around them like a shroud. Then silence. The world felt weighted and still, the kind of quiet that tightened the chest and quickened the pulse. Tommy stole a glance at Lisa. Her face was a mask of fear, every feature sharpened in the dim light. "Let us backtrack," he suggested, but even as the words left his mouth, the air felt charged, electric. "We can't let them be lost in here." Before they could move, a figure stepped out from behind a tree. It was small, too small to be an adult, its silhouette sharp against the thickening fog. Tommy moved protectively in front of Lisa, ready to confront whatever nightmare this was. "Tommy?" The child's voice was eerily familiar. "Ben?" Relief mixed with suspicion coursed through Tommy. "Is that you?" The figure took a step forward, and Tommy froze. Gone was the innocent face he remembered. Now, it was draped in shadows, eyes hollowed out, grinning wickedly. "You have to come play." "No!" Lisa yelled, every instinct screaming for them to run, but it was too late. The shadows yawned wider, and suddenly, there were more figures flickering in the mist, all appearing and fading like memories on the verge of being lost. "Tommy! What are we going to do?" The fear in Lisa's voice twisted through him like a knife. "Just, stay close," he replied through clenched teeth, knowing full well that fear wasn't enough to protect them. The shadows were closing in, and time was running out. Then came the chilling laughter again, rising in a crescendo, an invitation wrapped in malice, clawing at the edges of sanity. "You'll play with us soon forever." As the figures advanced, waving their pale hands, the woods seemed to pulse with life, and Tommy's heart dropped. The weight of shadows pressed down on them, as if the dark itself were urging them to embrace what nightmares dwelled within. "Run!" he shouted, adrenaline surging through him once more. They twisted and turned, the path ahead shifting and warping, a maze of despair. But with every step they took, the shadows clung closer, an inescapable embrace. What lay behind them felt far more menacing than what lay ahead. Desperation coursed through him as they stumbled, caught between the urge to escape and the pull of their lost friends. "Tommy," Lisa whispered as they skidded to a halt, panting, "we can't keep running. We have to face it." But what awaited them in that darkness? And at what cost? The laughter echoed one last time, drowning out their breaths, a warning that loomed large in the air as the night wrapped around them like a tightening noose. Just then, the shadows shifted, blocking the path ahead, and in that moment, the question hung heavy: how much longer could they run before the darkness claimed them? Tommy's heart pounded as he faced the encroaching shadows, his breath hitching in his throat. The figures closed in, their twisted forms flickering in and out of existence like a terrible mirage. Each face wore a chilling smile, eyes sunken and glimmering with malice, as if they were waiting for something sinister to unfold. "Tommy! What do we do?" Lisa's voice trembled, lost amid the horrific laughter that ricocheted through the trees, each laugh a reminder that they were no longer alone. "We have to remember who they are," he gasped, clenching his fists. There was a frantic energy surging through him. "If we can just think of something that will help us fight this. What if there's nothing left?" She whispered, fear gripped her as tightly as the branches above them. "What if they're no longer our friends?" The figures halted just out of reach, their gazes piercing them with an intensity that made the hairs on Tommy's neck rise. The laughter quieted, replaced by a warped, childlike chant. "Play with us no!" he shouted, the sound of his own voice felt foreign against the eerie backdrop. "You're not Ben. You're not Julie." For a fleeting moment, the figures paused, their expressions shifting from malicious glee to a flicker of confusion. Tommy seized the opportunity, grasping Lisa's hand tightly. "Let us move. We can't let them trap us in here." They turned, sprinting back the way they came, the world around them still spinning in an unsettling blur. Branches snagged at their clothes, as if trying to hold them back, each snap echoing like a warning. The laughter swelled again, mocking their escape, a terrible song that filled the night air. But just as they thought they were gaining distance, a familiar voice came clear through the cacophony. "Tommy! Lisa. It was Ben, but this time it resonated with an urgency that felt real, dripping with desperation. They turned sharply, uncertainty crashing into their resolve. "Tommy, we can't listen," Lisa cried, her eyes filled with fear. "No, we have to know," he replied, torn between wanting to protect her and the compulsion to chase after his friend's voice. "Maybe it's really him." As they faltered, the figures loomed closer, each step they took reverberating through the mossy ground. Shadows writhed and danced around them, pulling them toward the source of the voice, toward the comfort of familiarity wrapped in terror. "Tommy, come here. I need you." The urgency twisted at his heart, promising safety but cloaked in dark deception. "Don't!" Lisa shouted, planting her feet firm. "Don't you see what's happening? This isn't right." Tommy's chest tightened painfully. "What if it is Ben? What if he needs us?" He stood teetering, his resolve fraying like the fabric of their unraveling reality. Suddenly, darkness erupted around them, a whirlpool of shadows dragging closer, coiling tightly around their legs. Lisa screamed, struggling to pull free, her terror palpable and contagious. "Faster!" Tommy yelled, wrenching Lisa back into motion just as the laughter transformed into screams, shrill and echoing, their pleas morphed into something grotesque. In that moment, clarity hit him like a slap. "They want us to choose. They want to break us." The shadows surged faster, a twisted pendulum of doom, blurring everything else out. Tommy gripped Lisa's hand, pulling her fiercely as they hurled themselves down the tree-covered path. The branches clawed at them, but they kept running, the cacophony of deceit surrounding them like dark confetti. "Where are we going?" Lisa yelled over the cacophony, her voice laced with desperation. "Anywhere but here." He yelled back, the pulse of fear screaming in his ears. Just ahead, a pale light flickered, drawing them like moths. "That way!" Tommy urged, the relentless shadows still tugging at their heels, but in their frantic push for escape, the flickering light began to dim. The warmth from the glow dwindled, replaced by an icy chill creeping into their bones. Out of the murkiness, a small figure materialized ahead of them, its illuminated face casting an otherworldly glow. "Help! Us!" they called in unison, hearts racing with both hope and dread. The figure moved closer, and part of Tommy wanted to reach out. But was this the salvation they sought, or yet another trap? The figure smiled, a twisted amalgamation of their lost friends, a facsimile so cruel it made Tommy's skin crawl. "You can't escape. You have to decide. Play or become part of us." As dread bloomed in Tommy's gut, chilling memories of laughter echoed through the night. Was there any way out? And what real price would it demand? In that moment, just as they teetered on the edge, a single thought struck Tommy like lightning. Could confronting the shadows unveil truths too horrible to bear, or would it spell their doom? With that, everything darkened, their fates entwined with the very dark they feared. What awaited them in that haunted glade? And would the past always hold its grasp on the present? Tommy's breath came in ragged gasps as the shadowy figures shifted around him, pulsating with a life of their own. The flickering light ahead threatened to vanish, an ethereal glow caught in the web of horrors enveloping them. Paralyzed between terror and the glimmer of hope, Tommy couldn't shake the feeling that the figures before him were mocking them, playing a cruel game like a sadistic child with its toys. "Tommy, we have to go. Now!" Lisa pleaded, her voice strained yet pleading. Panic surged through her, and Tommy could see her resolve crumbling beneath the relentless pressure of the encroaching darkness. "Wait!" Tommy shouted, desperation tinging his voice. What if this is a way out? They had come too far, fought too hard to simply run away. We have to face them, to understand. But as Tommy stepped forward, the figures responded, their smiles widening into grimaces of delight. "Yes. Yes. Play with us." Their voices twisted together like a cruel chorus, distorting the warmth they pretended to offer. Lisa shook her head, stepping back. "This isn't how we escape, Tommy. They want to play with your mind. Don't give in. Resolved yet uncertain, Tommy's heart pounded even faster. We could break whatever hold they have over us. We might find Ben Julie. The thought of their friends sparked a flicker of determination in him. But beneath it, doubt clouded his mind. Were they still who he once knew, or had they, too, been twisted into these manifestations of darkness? Play the figures echoed again, their forms shifting slightly, claw-like fingers beckoning him forward. A cold shiver raced down Tommy's spine, a warning of the dangers that lay ahead. He couldn't turn away, not now. Tommy. Lisa gripped his arm, desperation lighting her eyes. We're not going to win this game. They want your fear, not your bravery. They want to scare us into submission, he conceded, but uncertainty gnawed at him. Could they really resist what seemed like an eternity of nightmares wrapped in familiar faces? Just then, the small figure in the pale light lifted a hand, and the air thickened with a sense of gravity. Join us, Tommy, it whispered, voice dripping honeyed promises. You have the choice to be free or to be one with us. Don't listen. Lisa shrieked, slapping her hands over her ears. But even she seemed drawn, an innate curiosity edging her breath as if the whispers unlocked something within her. Think of all the laughter, all the joys with your friends. The figure taunted. You can have it all. Embrace us, play. The shadows danced and swirled, a maelstrom of darkness that surged closer, leaving nothing but flickering glimpses of the light ahead. Tommy's heart raced, they were losing ground, losing hope. I want to let them take you. He shouted, forcing himself to step closer despite the choking fear wrapping around his throat. Every instinct told him to run, but he couldn't abandon Lisa to whatever fate awaited them. Then, in a quick surge, he took another step, forcing the figure's illusion into clarity. Ignoring the pleas and promises, he shouted back, You're not real. You think you can play with us? You think you can own our memories? Get out of our heads. Chaos erupted. The screeches intensified, rising in a pitch that seemed to slice through the very fabric of reality. The figures recoiled for just a moment, their faces contorting in rage. A weak moment, but enough for Tommy and Lisa. Go! He urged, gripping her hand tightly as they turned again, sprinting toward the dim light that flickered defiantly ahead. Efforts to escape the grasping shadows grew frantic, the laughter behind them twisting into howls of rage, but just as they reached the fading warmth, it suddenly extinguished. Darkness engulfed them with a suffocating finality. They stumbled, veering off course, finding themselves deeper in the terrifying gloom. Tommy, we can't see. Lisa cried, panic rising in her voice. What if we can't find our way back? They were enveloped now, lost, ensnared in the very shadows they had tried to outrun. In the oppressive darkness, confusion seeped into every thought. What now? Tommy wondered, dread crawling up his spine. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes pierced the darkness, staring directly at them with an intensity that matched the shadow's malice. You could have had it all. It whispered in a voice so eerily familiar. But now, you are mine. With fear coiling tighter around them, Tommy felt the weight of impending doom crash down, dragging him and Lisa deeper into a nightmare from which there seemed no escape. What awaited them in that pitch-black void, and could they stand firm against the shadows that sought to shatter their very souls? The darkness thickened, pressing in on them like cold, damp fog. Tommy clutched Lisa's hand tighter, their fingers interlocking, trying to fend off the consuming despair. The glowing eyes, piercing and bright, blinked slowly. Each blink felt like a dagger stabbing at their souls. He squeezed her hand, drawing whatever strength he could find. Listen. He hissed, trying to focus despite the panic swirling in his chest. We have to remember who we are. We have to fight back. Lisa's breath hitched, her voice trembling. But how? They're inside our minds, inside our fears. It's like a nightmare we can't wake up from. The whisper echoed around them, smooth and mocking. Fears are the fabric of your existence. Do you think you can escape what has already been woven? Tommy's heart sank, but a memory flickered to the surface: Ben's laughter, Julie's smile. Warmth chased away the chill in his bones, if only for a moment. We need to focus on them. They're counting on us to be strong. They're trapped too. The eyes narrowed at the mention of their friends, narrowing like a constricting noose. You think they can help you? They're already part of the game just like you. No. Tommy shouted, defiance welling up within him. We can break free. We won't lose our minds or our trust in each other. Suddenly, the eyes vanished, and the whisper transformed into a cacophony of mockery, echoing throughout the darkness. You will join the rest. The play is not over. Dark tendrils, like writhing serpents, snaked out from the void. They curled around Tommy and Lisa, trying to pull them apart, each grasp threatening to expose their greatest fears one by one. Tommy! Lisa screamed, the sound slicing through the chaos. The shadows lunged, and his grip slipped. No! He lunged forward, reaching for her. But another wave of darkness surged in, threatening to pull them apart. Her terrified expression haunted him. He couldn't let the shadows take her. Fight! Lisa, just think of our friends! He cried, desperation rising sharp and fierce. Hold on to that. We're stronger than this. But the shadows hissed, twisting their forms into grotesque parodies of Ben and Julie, their voices dripping with malice. You can't save her, Tommy. You'll never see them again. Join us. Give in. The illusion felt real, too real, and panic clawed at Tommy's heart. He could hear the fabric of truth unraveling, threatening to rip their resolve apart. Tommy, Lisa whispered, her eyes darting between the projections of their friends and the dark reaching fingers. It's too much. I can't hold on. Don't say that. Remember the summer nights? Bottled fireflies, ice cream on the porch. We can get out. We can find them. But as he spoke, doubt began to creep into her eyes. It was like a fog, thick and suffocating. Tommy took a deep breath, remembering the warmth of those moments. He wouldn't let her fall apart now. With renewed determination, he shouted with every ounce of strength. We're still here. We're still alive. We choose to fight. In that declaration, the air shifted. It felt electric, like a thunderbolt of resolve, sparking through the darkness. The shadows hesitated, recoiling from their words, unraveling just slightly. Join us. The hissing chorus shrieked again, but this time, something had changed. They weren't puppets anymore, they were rebels, standing firm against the encroaching tide. Tommy could feel the weight of the darkness shift, just enough for him to pull Lisa close again. We have to mirror their strength, Lisa. Lean on each other. Together, we push back. Together, she echoed, and Tommy could see her spirit flickering back to life. But as they focused on each other, a deeper shadow loomed around them, rising like a looming wave ready to crash down. You think you can escape? It growled, a voice deeper than thunder, reverberating through the abyss. No. We are more than just your game. Tommy shouted defiantly. And yet, in that moment of clarity, they both sensed it, the lingering chill, the press of despair smothering their thoughts. Could they withstand the darkness's final assault, or would the shadows slowly consume everything they fought for? Before they could answer, the darkness surged forward, and Tommy braced for impact. What lay on the other side of that impending collision sent icy dread flooding through him, threatening to rip their world apart. Would they triumph over the shadows, or would this be their final play? As the darkness pressed closer, Tommy's heart raced. The whispering shadows seemed to absorb all light, a swirling void that sought to extinguish every flicker of hope. He felt Lisa's hand in his, warm yet trembling, a tether between their fear and determination. Remember the summer, he urged hoarsely. Remember the bonfires and laughter. We can't give up. Just as the shadows lunged, the air around them shimmered with the remnants of their joy. The memories surged like a tidal wave, picking fireflies under the stars, sharing secrets under blankets, the warmth of friendship. With every heartbeat, they felt that bond grow stronger. The hissing cries from the shadows strained, as if they were losing their grip at the power of unity, but it wasn't enough. One of the figures lunged toward them, transforming into a grotesque vision of Ben, his smile twisted into something devouring, eyes empty. "You're here to join us forever. You can't escape. Ben wouldn't want this," Tommy shouted, certainty crashing through the fear. "We choose to keep fighting for who we are." At that moment, he and Lisa turned toward the figure, clasping hands tighter, facing the shadows with one fierce thought: their friendship wasn't a game, it was their strength. The image flickered, distorting into a cacophony of screams as the darkness recoiled. Tommy saw color rippling through the shadows, cracking the facade of despair. "Join us, Tommy. Join us, Lisa." The deceptive figures called, desperation lacing their voices. "No!" They shouted together, voices like thunder. They pushed through the darkness, a light igniting in their hearts, refusing to surrender. Suddenly, the shadows began to break apart, spiraling back into the depths. With each word they proclaimed, the memories of happiness wrapped around them, shielding them from the chilling embrace of despair. With every recollection, the light grew brighter, illuminating their path. "We choose life. We choose laughter." The shadows twisted in rage, howls echoing and reverberating around them, but Tommy and Lisa pressed forward, eyes focused on the flickering light that represented a way out. Then, from the depths of the void, something shifted. Figures began to reform around them, familiar faces emerging not as shadows but as the essence of their memories. Ben, Julie, the countless friends they had laughed and played with weaving through the darkness, rallying around them. "Tommy. Lisa. Don't give up. We're here with you." Strength surged within, fueling the fight. United, they surged towards the light, each step pushing the shadows back further, until the cacophony turned into silence. With a final shout of defiance, Tommy and Lisa jumped into the light, and in an explosion of warmth, the shadows shattered into a million tiny fragments, dissipating into nothingness. And then they were free, falling through the familiar landscape of their neighborhood, the sun shining brightly in the sky, cicadas buzzing around them, a vivid end to a haunting summer night. Panting and gritty, Tommy looked at Lisa. Did we really do it?" "I think we did," she whispered, her eyes reflecting the warmth of daylight. They both collapsed onto the grass, laughter escaping them like a river breaking free after a long drought. Friends gathered around, their faces glowing with relief and joy. Ben and Julie found them, confusions and laughter mingling like finally reunited souls. "What happened?" Ben asked, worry etching his brow. "It doesn't matter," Tommy said, the weight of everything crashing down like a dam bursting. "We fought together, and we won." In that moment, summer faded, but its lessons remained etched in their hearts. They'd stand together against whatever darkness came, their love and friendship shining bright like the sun warming the edges of autumn. As they embraced one another, shadows discarded into the past, a sense of calm fell over Waverly. Laughter filled the air, the laughter that had once been lost, echoing the triumph of summer. This was the beginning of many new stories, built on the foundation of resilience and connection. Now, here's the deal. You need to subscribe to the channel right now if you don't want to miss out on these exclusive stories next time. Smash that like button now. It's crucial for helping with the algorithm, people, and make sure you flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference, and we want to keep bringing you these thrilling tales together.